guys made some nice. There's more stuff coming. James, you know, rock and roll. That's his father. And he's also rock and roll.
Oh, so that's all of us, isn't it? Rock and rollers, come on, man.
Yeah, Kurt Cobain on the wall, man.
Don't worry, they will come.
Good, she's doing rock and roll now. Yes, pretty good. Nice picture. Oh, I love that. We can take that, thanks. We went.
Oh, Chloe, thanks, lovely. Yum, yum. Why have we got your...
Jen, I don't think I locked that door.
No, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
But it looks cool though, babe.
This is little stormtrooper pack, isn't it?
Did Parasuram tell you that we're doing a show in Hyde Park tomorrow?
Did he?
Did he
tell us that?
we're doing it with this guy called the artist taxi driver. It's crazy.
Oh, Chunky.
Yeah, old Chunky Mark. Yeah,
Yeah,
he's a bit of a friend. Yeah, he's just texting me about. I need to know flipping away exactly where it is we're going.
It'd be good to sort of liaise with that guy, wouldn't it?
Yeah. He wanted to do an interview with me anyway.
Oh, did he?
In the taxi.
You gonna go for it?
Of course I am. But you know what else I'm going to go for?
What?
I work with a guy called Adrian Sherwood. Like he's a dub producer.
Oh, right.
He's a good friend of mine.
Right.
And I like what Mark he says so much. I said to him, look, Mark, I said, why don't you let me use your chat over the beats and the music? And we'll turn your stuff into some songs.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, no. And he's just like, go for it.
Yeah, I can see that. I love that.
No, I love it. They will. They love it.
Oh, wow.
That's good look now.
Yeah, I've watched a lot of his stuff on YouTube.
Everyone loves him.
Yeah, he's got millions of views. Millions. Yeah, I think he's brilliant.
Yeah, we've been talking about it.
Yeah. I wanted that.
We were saying on the way down, we'll probably take Russell Brand's face off and stick his on the van.
Hello. That's the one. Now you're talking.
Yeah.
Chunky.
Oh, Chunky Mark.
Poor Chunky.
What's happening? We're getting loaded up here, eh?
Yeah. So, should we try sitar since we're...
Entirely up to you.
Well, so what if
Well, you going to play sitar with us?
you reckon about...
Get it in tune. Yeah.
Let's see, we have a few minutes, let's see if we can get it together.
If you tune your guitar into, because sometimes we get the harmonium going past as well, separate occasions.
The harmonium is tuned into normal tuning.
Sometimes Why don't you give us an E on your...
Oh, it's alright. Good morning.
I'm out of these, mate.
I'm out of these. Parasuram would understand that.
This is a father and son talking now.
Hey. Right, mate? D. Huh? D. D. Yeah.
This is our new band, Jen.
Is it?
Yeah, we're
Are they coming tomorrow then? With us lot then? Oh, shame.
This is a... We're called the, what are we called?
They're called the Don't Knows.
Not blues.
We're called the Leftovers.
Come on! Come on, anyone.
No. I just came to have a rickshaw, but they said
Look, Parasuram, we all do it when we finish. Yeah, it's all right. That's all right, isn't it, Parasuram?
That's alright.
To leave the rickshaw until the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. No worries, man. You go and enjoy your life, man. Be happy and free. Okay, then. Okay. Sorry, can I put it somewhere else? Because it shouldn't really be up here. Is this yours, man?
Oh yeah, no, that's it.
Is it yours?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So there's not much space, Tara.
Oh, it's a space.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
It was not going to be like this next week, I promise you.
No, don't worry.
All right.
Don't worry. We're all fine.
Then we're all fine. Okay.
They still never got around to fix it. It's a connection here, it's still quite loose. No, dude.
Oh my days. That's a seriously tasty looking meal.
For this, we could play through this one because it's got like reverb and everything, chorus. And
It's not got reverb, huh? Can you give us an
say someone's
Mine change it.
Oh, let's light some incense.
was going.
Please.
And they're not good. We go and get some
Okay,
incense.
upstairs.
Yeah, it's on the
F.
desk.
C, please.
Well, is yours fully tuned?
Huh?
Is your guitar tuned?
Yeah. You got leads for me to plug in, or do I need a lead?
I'm not sure.
G, please.
I might have a lead in my band.
I've got a lead here.
I got lead.
Yeah.
It's not this one, is it?
No, I've got a
G,
lead.
G. And then C again. 1, 2, 3, 4. If we give this a go plugging this, it's too late to fix around with it now. It's very
It
simple.
works, but it's just
It works, yeah, very simple. You've got a link. Where's your loader?
Stick it in. Where? You want this? No. Oh, it's light. Oh, is your one upstairs?
do that then, she walked out.
Done with all the China. Oh? These don't work? How many mics you got to sing through? Very good. Let me try it here. Let me try it. You and Jack have got a dodgy unit. Like yours.
You want something? Huh? This one, on them. Take that one then. This one's really cool, look at that one.
There's life going on.
That's nice. Too hot.
Yeah, well, you must know this.
Last time, got leaving on Tuesday, so next year, you know. My wife left yesterday.
Wow.
Plug me in that. Yeah. Sorry, this is the amplifier I meant to do.
That's really spicy. Shoot.
Okay, show us your...
There's that one there, yeah.
Will you plug into our one then?
No, just... okay, let me just check with this one.
I can't, because I...
No, okay. No, that way.
Yeah, it's coming up.
Okay, so that's...
Is it? Try it once more. Right, working, amazing, right?
Okay.
And you got spare lead?
I'll have a look. Let me see.
Let's just plug that one in a minute, John. Is that...
No.
No, that's not working.
All right now. Is that working? Okay.
What?
Okay, give him back that one.
I don't want it. I need to play the harmonica with me anyway.
Hang on. There's a couple more leads here.
Hello.
Now for you then.
Sounds alright.
Yeah, sounds great.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Krishna.
Yeah, okay. No, it's these plugs on this one.
Sandy's on that one.
Probably am.
You get on the seat.
James still traveling with all
You didn't miss maybe half an hour.
Okay, James, get that. Sandy, try and sort that.
Help, Sandy. So you're here, how long are you here for? Can you do me one favour? You see, you know my phone number? The 0203 number is on there.
Where? On the website?
Yeah.
You ready?
No, put my mobile number on.
Oh,
because that one's been, I've changed my phones.
Oh, yeah.
And I've only just discovered.
So it's still on the website?
So it's still on the website.
Have I got your phone?
You've got my number 07900.
Anyway, if I don't, I'll just message you.
Yeah.
Change
Yeah, could you, Sandy? I'd be
Yeah,
really
I'll
nice.
switch it on.
Because otherwise,
Sorry.
They'll ring the wrong place.
they're in the wrong place.
Like something you see.
You're still in Camden?
I'm still in Camden.
today.
I changed the
They like to protect the good.
yeah, exactly.
Open-minded.
Exactly. That's why I live
But I noticed this year there's a lot more tourists.
Yeah.
Maybe because this particular more tourists than normal. Mainly tourists. Especially
Well, should we swap around? Do you want the reverb? How's that?
That's it.
So how are you going to... Oh, there you go. So are you tuned in? Because I'm stuck in this. Little lead, you know.
He's always busy.
These lads come out without a plectrum and without a lead. And I'm stuck with it. Go ahead. Are you singing?
I don't know what you say. Well, you've asked us to play a harmonica with something in C. We've got something in G and harmonica in G. You might as well do your song with this after or something.
Do you want something mellow?
Yeah, why not?
Alright, something I wrote then. It's all it is. It's G, E minor, C, D. And it's a loop. It's just a loop.
one of the I can just put plastic in there.
No,
I can just put a bit of plastic.
no.
I don't know how it reads, but it's snapped in half. Oh, yeah,
I get you a scissors.
We want you with us, Parasuram. We want you with us, mate.
I know, that's why I'm looking at you. I want to see you.
I'm just doing the loop. It's just G, C, G, E minor, C, D. That's all it is.
G, E minor, C, D,
Yeah. It's,
I finally learned the chords now.
it's called God Take Me Home. Alright? Where are all the people going? Human life was made for knowing. We have lost our way, we're running blind. I just wanna go home. Please take me home. God, take me home. I have learned to love you in every way. I just wanna go home. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. People all around us are friends, with a soul inside that's crying. Please just stop the pain and light the way. I just wanna go home. Please take me home. God, take me home. I have learned to love you in every way. We just wanna go home. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, blind. I just wanna go home. Please take me home. God, take me home. I have learned to love you in every way. I just wanna go home. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Tears in my eyes, clouds covering blue skies, so far away. There's a spirit world, and I feel it in my soul. I need to find that place today. So I want you, Krishna, please show me the way. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I wanna feel the sun. This life for me has only just begun. I'll do all that I can for me to try to understand you so far away. There's a spirit world, and I feel it in my soul. I need to find that place today, so I want you, Krishna, please show me the way today. Oh, Krishna, please show me the way. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I'm standing in the rain, I'm feeling so much pain. I've got tears in my eyes, clouds covering blue skies, so far away. want you, Krishna, please show me the way. Oh, Krishna, please show me the way. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna.
Nice one.
Yeah.
Let's get one from you.
Yeah,
Before we go on to the lecture.
Who's speaking?
See, only lecture.
I've been here for a while, so I'm always leaving.
I'm going to do one in E major.
Okay. I can help with that.
quite loud.
It's very loud.
That was
Very
his
loud.
singing.
What'd you say? What?
It wasn't even switched on. Okay, turn down a bit.
It's not Wembley Stadium, Paz. No. Come on now.
They wish.
Not
Yeah,
yet.
he wishes. Yeah. He thinks he
Not yet. One day they're gonna win it.
Haribol.
They're getting there.
Haribol. Haribol.
Isn't that going straight into the other one? Into the other R one?
So the vocals going down.
No. I can't hear it.
E major. It's G A. First, or the first section is E major, G A. So you get the last section what you can. Do the one in
When you took conversation, you always
will you do the one in E major last week? You've done in the what key was it? What we did earlier, the A one. The A was. Oh, it's I think you might come back in.
Because my
Why don't they sang it now?
No.
The vibration.
Let me know if it's too loud.
Sorry?
Let me know if it's too loud.
Okay.
Hey?
What do we do?
Definitely rise along. Thank you everybody for coming this evening, and tonight's special speaker, author of many books, is Dhanesvara. Do you need a chair?
Yes, he does. Get one Parasuram, stay there.
Okay, so...
Can I have that one? No, can I have this one?
Let's use the other one.
Huh?
The one with the cushion.
You sure this one? This?
Yeah, that'll be it. Take the cushion too.
Right. This is ages.
Great, thanks. So we're going to get right into it. So we have
Beautiful.
What I want to speak about tonight is what happens when we die. Now, of course, in Krishna consciousness, we all expect that big golden swan is going to come from Vaikuntha and pick us up with the Vishnu Dutas, and we'll fly away to the spiritual sky. What happens if that's not the same? So we should know what to expect, because it'll actually help us to live a better life. Many people are afraid of death. Why? Because they don't know how life works. It's really that simple. If we understand, or let's say when we understand, as we understand how life works, then we'll understand also how death works. So the first thing we're going to deal with today is how life works. And that subject mostly is covered under the topic of karma. So everybody's heard the word karma, right?
Yeah.
And most of us have a, let's say, most people, they don't really know quite what it means. And the reason for that is because karma is one word out of a Sanskrit language. Sanskrit is a spiritual language. And it's just like a foreigner comes to England, right? They know, they can hear and understand one word of English. How well can they actually understand that word? Or if we go to a foreign country, right? You know one word. It can't really have much depth. It can't carry too much. So there's other words in Sanskrit which help to understand what karma is and how it's operating. And so we'll go into that just a little bit. There's words like Bhagavan, Jiva, Samsara, Gunas. And so those who are familiar with Bhagavad Gita, you may have recognized those words. Bhagavan, of course, is God. Samsara means reincarnation. Gunas means the influence of the material energy on the consciousness of the living being. And Jiva, Jiva is us, the spiritual being. So we're in this material world, Martya Loka, and most people, they don't know how the world works. So we go around like a person in a dark room, right? They bump into things and fall over and hit their head because they don't understand how the thing is working. So it's very simple, actually. We're spiritual beings living in a material world. As spiritual beings, we have immense power, potency over the material energy. So much so that everything that we desire, we will get. It's really that simple. Whatever we desire, every little thing that we desire, we're going to get sooner or later. So that's the key element. When does it come? We want it now, right? Especially in modern society, now. But it may not come now. It may come many lifetimes in the future. Or, to put it another way, all of us are carrying with us a huge collection of desire seeds that we've generated in previous lifetimes. And those are the desires that force us to be born in this life. The same way, the desires that we accumulate in this life will force us to be born again and again and again. So the secret here, the real key element is desire. What do I desire? And this is determined by how we associate with the material energy. For example, some people, Friday night, they're going to go out to the barroom. And they're going to stay there to the wee hours of the morning. They have a good time. Other people, they go to bed when the other people are just going out to the club. They'll get up in the morning, and in the morning they'll go to church. So, two different kinds of activities, two different effects because the activities are very different on the consciousness. So how we associate with the material energy determines the consciousness that we develop. Okay? You with me for that? Is that okay? So it's like that. I think that's enough background. So what happens when we die then? In one sense, nothing. Because we will be the same person that we feel ourselves to be at the time of death. Exactly the same. Our sense of self, our memory, our intelligence, our desires, everything that we feel ourselves to be right now will still be there. And so much so that many people, if they die a sudden death in an accident or in a violent way or something, they don't even know that they've died. How many of you have read about near-death experiences? Anybody? Okay, yeah, so you got the idea, right? Maybe you've read some of those. Or the people, they're out of the body, and then they look and they see the body and they go, hey, wait a minute, something's wrong here, right? I'm up here, but then how am I down there? How's that work? And they become confused about that because they don't know the reality of life. So, in this life, the difference is that we have a duality. We've got the physical body, from which we may show one face, nice smile, but in our mind, we're thinking something entirely different. Right? So we have this duality of thinking one thing, doing, saying, acting another way. And at the time of death, however, the subtle body leaves the gross physical body, the subtle body, mind, intelligence, and ego. It separates from the physical body, and that duality goes away. There is no more duality. So then what? Who I am, who I have become, is all that I am. There is no pretense anymore. And where will I go? People ask like this. Because we have this concept of three-dimensional space, right? That we're going to go to some place. We'll go to heaven or we'll go to hell. It'll be like, like you travel to some place. But it's not quite like that, because the mental world is non-dimensional. There's no dimensions there. The mental body, mind, intelligence, ego, separates from the physical body and goes to the dimension exactly according to the consciousness. Or, let's put it another way, desire. Okay? Why I spoke about desire earlier, because whatever is desired in the mental world is immediately experienced. And not even desired, but our being, our essence, our consciousness creates our reality there. So, consider several different people. One person, let's say, several different people, they may perform the same activity, but we have to ask, what's their motive? What's the reason behind the activity they're doing? So, maybe, let's say, you're going to help out your friend. What's the reason for doing that? One person may have desire simply to help him because he's my friend. Another person thinks, well, if I help him, he'll be in my debt. And then I'll be able to ask him for something later. Another person may think, I want people to think of me as being a good person. And I help my friends. So we can see that there can be many different reasons behind the same action. Now, in the mental world, it's not the action itself that's significant, but it's the thought, the reason, the motivation that's behind it, which actually counts. So in this world, while we're living this life, if we look at our motivation behind what we do, this is actually going to determine where we're going in the mental plane. Okay? Is that clear? Very, very important thing, because many of us, actually, we fool ourselves. We put on this pretense of doing something, showing ourselves one way, when we're actually thinking something else. But we fool ourselves by that action also. Yes, I'm such a good person. We forget about our selfish motivation, perhaps. You know, what I want to get out of it. So the mental plane. The mental world is made up of a number of, let's say, you could say an infinite number of different planes of consciousness. And where do we go? We go to exactly that plane that's in tune with our consciousness. The nice thing about this is, we're in a place where everybody agrees with us. There's no conflict there. Well, in some of the places. Let's say we're a nice person. We try to do good to others. We want to help people. We want to make people happy. So we go to that mental plane where there's exactly like that. And who else is there? Other people of exactly the same consciousness. So this is called heaven. We're there with other people who are trying to do good to us. We're trying to do good to them. It's a wonderful world. But what if there's the other people who they're mean, vindictive, they like to hurt others, they get pleasure from hurting others, maybe they like to kill people. Where do they go? They go to a plane exactly like that also. And who else is there? Other people who like to hurt and kill people. And they take it out on each other. So this is called hell. So it's not that there's God who's, we die and you go before God and he says, yes, you've been good, my son, go to heaven. And he says, and you, go to hell. Doesn't work like that. In fact, we choose where we go. I mean, you can even consider it that way. Just like, again, the example of who goes to the barroom, right? They don't want to go to church. If you ask them, come to church with us on Sunday morning, they don't want to go there, right? They want to go to the place that's dark and smoky and people are there and drinking and swearing and carrying on all kinds of ways. That's what they like. And so in the mental plane, even if they had a chance to go to heaven, they're not going to like it there. That's not the consciousness that they've cultivated. So they'll choose by themselves to go to the place of darkness, where they can carry on the way they've been carrying on during their life. So I started to explain there's many, many different planes of consciousness. Let me tell you where I'm getting some of this from, by the way. The whole thing came about when somebody asked me in a class last December, I guess, about hell. They're saying, I can't believe that God, who must be all loving and all kind, would send people to hell to suffer forever. And so explain that. Is there a hell? Does God send people to hell? And so I basically, I gave this explanation of that we go to the mental plane and we, according to the consciousness we developed, we find our place there. And then not too long after that, maybe about a month or so later, I got a hold of a book, quite serendipitously, by a book was written about 100 years ago and it gave 3 death experiences. One of a person who was a soldier, a killer. He went to hell, and it talked about all his experiences in hell. Another one of a person who was ordinary Joe, not too good, not too bad, kind of like most people. And a third one who was bound to the earth plane in the astral body. So it was very fascinating to read because it basically, these stories, the way they were told, they don't at all conflict with the Vaishnava philosophy. In fact, it's, you know, the Vaishnava philosophy predicts what was being experienced by these people. And so they explain that there's different levels of hell. So not so bad, more bad, real bad. And then there's, so who goes to hell? Those people who cannot learn any other way except by suffering. There's people like that. The only thing they understand is pain. And so for them to be reformed, they go to that plane where there's suffering. Others who can learn by experience, they get to have a life review. And maybe you've heard about this, some of the near-death experiences. You can see your whole life as many times as you like. And because it's the mental world, it's very lifelike. Whatever you remember, it comes out in 3D. And the difference is that, not like a video that we see here, but in the mental world, you can actually experience the thoughts and the feelings of others, and we get to see how we've affected other people by our actions and our deeds. So if we've offended somebody, we can actually feel how they felt from our action. And this generally is quite painful to when we realize how we've affected others in a bad way. At the same time, well, we can also see how if we've helped somebody and given them joy, we can also experience that result. And so the whole thing is it's a process of learning. Just like in this life, we have opportunity for learning. That learning continues after this life in the mental plane. And so people, they will find their stratum. Oh yeah, so I started to explain about, so the purgatory. There's like what the Christians call a purgatory, where they go through this painful, experiencing the pain by remembering their past deeds. And gradually, as they become purified from that, they can advance to different planes of consciousness. So again, there's planes of consciousness. And one is very strictly bound by that plane of consciousness, by their consciousness. When the consciousness evolves, they can also begin to experience another plane. So this continues for some time. And for people, say, in different religions, Catholics or Jews or whatever, every religion, the material aspects of their belief and understanding will fall away, but the essential truths or the absolute truth component of that will stay. So they're actually able to make progress spiritually in that plane. And this will go on for some time, as long as we want to learn the lesson. Then, after some while, those who are still have material desires, they will, again, those desires will be felt, and they'll desire to have birth again, so that they can express those desires in physical form. There's a number of other authors who write about this. There's a fellow, Emanuel Swedenborg, who wrote in the 17th or 18th century, quite old. And that book has been translated into many languages. He had the ability to enter to the mental realms. And he gives a very detailed explanation of heavens and hells. And it's very much, all these three, I would say, I had 3 different books that I was using. Another one is Theosophy. What's his name from Theosophy?
Alistair Crowley.
Huh?
Alistair Crowley.
Crowley? No, not Crowley. Before him. From the 18th century, or 19th century. Was
Edgar Casey.
Not Casey. Casey also writes about this. Theosophy. Steiner. Rudolf Steiner. Yeah. So Steiner, Casey, Swedenborg, and this 4th book. These are the 4 source books that I was using in studying this stuff. But what really impressed me by going through this study was how the distinction between form and substance, because we all become confused by our form. We think of ours naturally, you know, for so many lifetimes in this world, we identify with the form. This is who I am. And we behave from the perspective of the form to others. How we present to others is based on the form. Again, because we may not be always truthful. In fact, interesting, I was in the bookstore today and I was looking at some of the books. And there are several books about lying. And both of these books are saying that most people lie all the time. That in a 10-minute conversation, the average person will tell 3 lies. So this is a very important thing. We don't think much of it, but when we lie, we're actually presenting a non-truth as though it's true. In other words, we're asking for illusion to become reality. Something that's not true to be true. And who are we fooling? We fool ourselves. There was one young brahmachari in one temple where I was at. He was saving Krishna's Lakshmi. He would go to the supermarket, and you know, in the bulk bins, he would take a bag and he would put some peanuts in, and then he would also put in half cashews, but he would put the tag for the price of the peanuts. And he had the good intelligence to explain, to one time give a confession, I guess, to his GBC what he was doing. And the GBC told him, "You don't know what a grave mistake you're making." I says, it's not an innocent kind of thing that you tell a little lie like this, because what you're doing, you're confused, you're blurring the line between truth and illusion. And as you continue to do that, that line becomes more and more fuzzy until you come to the point where you can't recognize what is true and what is illusion. So there's so many people living like this. Huh? They blur this line, they lie all the time, they think they're going to get some personal advantage, but what they're doing is developing a consciousness, a lower consciousness, very self-centered. I make these arrangements, I tell these lies so that I'll get some benefit over another person. Or maybe even sometimes I tell a lie not to hurt somebody. Is there a difference between these two? Again, what's the motivation? How is the motivation? If I go through my life always telling little falsehoods to make people happy. Yeah, you look so great today. Wow, you haven't aged today in 5 years since I've seen you last. Oh, yes, the other person feels good. Huh? What's the motivation? Because it's that motivation which is actually going to determine what the consciousness is. So, understanding how life works, we can understand what death is. And understanding that, it motivates us to really act to develop our consciousness. Because that's all we take with us. If we were to suddenly leave the body right now, whatever our experience of self is right now, that's the person that we are after death also. And where do we go from there? So Krishna consciousness is teaching. What Prabhupada is giving us is teaching how to become conscious of Krishna. How to act to please Krishna with every activity. Bhakti Yoga means every activity can be transformed to spiritual activity simply by changing the consciousness or the motivation for doing it. What's my motivation? To please Krishna. That's what we want to develop. Develop this consciousness, because that consciousness will take us to Krishna. We skip the whole mental plane and we're qualified then to go to Krishna. Anyway, it's a fascinating thing to put these two together. Specifically the duality of this world when it's missing in the mental plane. So upon reading these books, it gave me a lot deeper insight when I read Prabhupada's books, actually what Prabhupada is explaining to us. So anyway, I just wanted to share that with you. Perhaps you have some questions or we can have some discussion.
Maybe this is not really very relevant, but what determines how long we spend in this purgatory, this astral world, whatever? What determines it? Is it a fixed length of time given for everyone?
No. Again, it's a learning experience. Okay? So some people, if they want, they can come back to the earth and see what's going on here. You can go to your own funeral, observe that. I'll tell you a little incident that happened to me. My father passed away in '83, and my father wasn't real keen about my being a devotee. And before he passed away, I tried to engage him in some discussion about what's the nature of reality, God, and so on, but he didn't want to do that. And then 8 years later, I was having a psychic healing, if you know what that is. People, they can clean the aura. And the woman who was doing that, she said, "Oh, your father's here." I said, "My father? Really? What's he doing here?" "He wants to learn about spiritual life from you," that's what she said. Okay. And these books, they also give information like that. That people, they want to learn some things, and they can come back to the earth plane. So, however long it takes us to go through the process. There's a process of shedding or letting go of the material conception of life, because at some point, sooner or later, we're going to realize that we're separated from the physical body, and even though the mental body appears like the physical body, we understand that this is not me. But because we don't know how else to think of ourselves, we think of ourselves in that same way. In time, that identification dissolves, and we can understand that we're a spiritual being, but we still have these material desires. So, how long would it be? The impression I have is as long as we want, as long as we need to. Of course, it's different for others. Now, there's a different case of people who are very materially attached, and they remain earthbound, what we call ghosts, because they're attached to a particular place or a person or even their body. It was interesting. I was speaking about this in Lithuania, where I was just prior to coming here, and one of the devotees there, he was telling about his previous life, how he had been a ghost, and he was relating how he was very much attached to his body. And so he went to his funeral, and then they were taking the body and putting it in the earth. And he was like freaking out. He said, no, 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 I'm alive. Don't bury the body. He still couldn't understand, right, that he's something different from the body. So when they started to pile earth on top of the coffin, he was like, no, I'm alive. So those people, they can stay a long, long time. He did. He stayed many years. He went to his former house where he lived, and he hung around there because they don't know what else to do. They don't know what the situation is. So again, not understanding life, we don't understand death. So understanding life, we can understand death. How long will it take? As long as we want. When we're ready, then we can again take birth again. Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Follow it?
Kind of made me think about.
Oops.
Hell is describing hell is like also part of the astral plane.
No, no, hell's not.
Okay, so that is.
Hell's in the mental plane. The ghost is the astral plane. Okay. More specifically, when we leave the body, we also take the ethereal element with us. Okay, so earth, water, fire, air. That's this body. But then there's an ethereal body. When we dream at night, we go out of the body in the ethereal body, and it's attached to the physical body with an energy cord. At death, that cord breaks. And so we are just in the ethereal body. And so the ghosts, they travel around the earth in a body of ether. Hell is in the mental plane, where they go and they experience suffering, as if they had a physical body. Something else? Yeah.
A while ago, I read a book, and in the book, it was sort of like about channeling. This woman was talking about
what?
Channeling.
Ah.
And she said that she had come to a situation where a man had died, and because he was Christian and he believed he would go to hell, that is what he experienced. And the angels or the beings around him were really upset because they knew that wasn't real, but he felt very much that he needed to experience it, so he did. And after some time, they were able to talk to him and tell him, like, that's not really how it is.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder, like, if a soul is at that point, can they go to you know, a higher place?
Yeah.
Like, can they meet Krishna?
That raises an interesting point, because you take the case of people who go to hell. In their life, in the physical world, they never believed in God. They never prayed. They never, that was just all a bunch of hocus pocus to them. So, say they go to hell. Now, how do you get out of there?
Jesus, come. There's got to be some help.
When they ask God for it, they ask.
Guys are coming, the cavalry.
There's the cavalry down there too, but they can't get you out.
Okay, so you have to wait for your credits to run out.
Yeah.
Call 999.
You can't. You only have what you believe. That's all the resources that you have.
Okay.
Right? There is no. So they give an example. This soldier who went to hell. He was there for a long, long, long time, and he had no idea where he was, why he was suffering, how to change anything. But then, it must have been Super Soul who told him pray. He's going, pray? I never prayed. I don't know what prayer is. And so he did something like, God is great. That's the only kind of thing. What did he know about God? God is great. Let's say, so he was fishing for something like that. But then, by quite almost like by accident, he asked, he heard, ask for help. So he asked for help, and by that he was able to raise himself up. So again, the mental world it's the mental world. If we have a desire in this world, it takes time for the material elements to be assembled to satisfy that desire. In the mental world, as soon as the desire is there, it can be fulfilled. So, in this case, the example that you give, if he thought, okay, I'm going to go to hell, that's what he gets. That's his thought. Okay? And by changing the thought, then he would be able to get himself out. Or he would be able to recognize help when it came, to understand that I don't have to be here. It's very interesting because he went through many levels of hell in this one book. And one example of hell is where people were having a discussion whether there's life after death or not. And they were, of course, they're all dead, you know. But they're arguing, most of them are saying, no, there's no life after death. And so they, where they are, that's where they're going to stay, because they don't have any problem with it, they don't want to change, they don't have a desire to do anything else, so they can stay there for a long time.
Well, if heaven and hell are mental planes, then why has the Catholic and Christian Church taught that for such a long time?
Why has the Catholic Church taught what?
That heaven and hell is a real place if it's only mental.
They don't have that philosophy, I guess. You know, I was raised a Catholic. I never heard anything about the subtle body until I read Bhagavad Gita. You know, the Catholic, yeah, their idea is we're the body and the soul, right? And at death, the two separate, and then the body stays in the ground until the resurrection, and the material elements are supposed to come back together, and somehow you get back in the body, which never made much sense to me. So that always seemed pretty weird.
My thoughts on that would be fear, to be fair. I mean, if you do it in fear, then in me, heaven and hell is
And you can control them
then you
easier.
can control that.
And it's also the material conception of life. If they don't have any conception of life beyond the body, you know, I mean, it doesn't explain in the Bible what is the soul. They don't have any. They don't have any idea of that. So their understanding is quite, let's say, rudimentary compared to the philosophy of Bhagavad Gita. Yeah.
At the beginning you said that those who end up in hell are people who can only learn through pain because they only understand pain. But my adage to that would be that they must end up in hell because they have caused so much pain to others, therefore they don't understand pain. Because they don't understand the pain they are causing. Could you elaborate on that?
Well, again, I was trying to make the point that the mental world is also a place of learning and evolution. Okay, so it's a place of learning and evolution. So if a person can learn without pain, they don't have to suffer the pain. But many people can't. Many people, if they see, right, yes, I hurt that guy and he deserved it. Right? That's their attitude. So, how is he going to understand how not to give pain to others? So that's just one side of it. The other side is, yes, they are, very sinful, and they will, become punished like that.
But also there are different layers of hell, aren't there? So I guess those who actually have some understanding, but they still cause pain is different. So.
I know, there's only like one.
Yeah, different layers according to the different degrees of selfishness and lack of concern for others. Those were actually the determinants for how deep one would go. If one has no concern for others, no concern for God, didn't believe in God, or preached against, the worst hell was ones who preached against God.
Pretending to be preaching as well.
Whatever, or saying, there is no God. Just a little bit.
Everything?
Yeah, but not a lot.
Surely that's a karmic thing, though. If you're born into, let's say, a family that are totally atheist and they've got no concept of being nice to other people, and they're just selfish and materialistic and money and that's what they think about. Surely well, you know, I didn't want to actually say something. Anyway, so that sort of, so isn't that like a karmic thing? If you're born into a family such as that, it's very hard to get out of that situation.
Well, you're born into that family because that's also what your idea is. According to the consciousness of the parents at the time of conception, a soul, a life soul, a kindred soul will take birth in that family. So we don't go generally into a family that's very different from us.
Remember that the next birth?
So a question that preoccupies me about the spiritual world is that you've talked about learning the lessons and whatever on a very personal level, a very individual level. And the question I always think is, what is our obligation towards helping other people, and perhaps like social activism, like how much time should we spend reading the Bhagavad Gita and meditating or doing whatever, and how much time serving the community? I don't know, the question always preoccupies me when I think about the individual lessons that we learn.
That's a very good point. It's not simply enough that I believe. We have to actually demonstrate our belief. If we just, I believe, and I don't do anything, then, it's not, how to put it, we have to make a confirmation by our actions of what our belief is. So, yes, we think the world should be a better place, and people should be nice, but, we go to church, but we don't take any action in the world, the belief is empty. So, yeah, there's a requirement. Again, what's the motivation for our actions? It really comes back to that. What's our desire and our will? These two things. And so, even if we do some good, again, the desire and the will. Why are we doing that good? And the Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita that one should act as a matter of duty. One should act for the pleasure of the Lord. So this is the highest one. If my action is to please the Lord in my activity, that's the highest one. So we may go, for example, we do food distribution or some charitable work of some kind to help other people. If our motivation is that we do that not only to help these people, but we want to please God, because it should be done, because it's the right thing to do. This is higher than a person who's motivated in a different way. Does that satisfy your question?
What if at the point of death we think I'm going to go see Krishna or I'm going to go live with Krishna? Does that happen?
Whatever your consciousness is at the time of death, that's where you will go.
Then how do you know it's just not a mental thing?
How do you know Krishna consciousness is not the mental plane? Again, it's the consciousness with which we do the activity. We can't go to some place that we don't know, right? It's not possible. So, we're going to go to Krishna. Well, what Krishna? Krishna is a baby, Krishna is a youth, Krishna in Dwarka, Krishna in Mathura, Krishna in Vrindavan. So, in that sense, if we're going to go to Krishna, it's a matter of developing a relationship with Krishna that that I'm going to be with that person that I'm developing a relationship with? Do I think of myself as Mother Yashoda? And I have Krishna as my baby? Do I think of Krishna as I'm a gopi and Krishna is my lover? Or do I think of Krishna as my boyfriend? Like this. So then that you have a specific Krishna to go to. So this is the second half of Bhakti Yoga, what's called Raganuga Bhakti. The first half we do following rules and regulations is for purification, so that in the second half we develop those specific relationships with Krishna, and we can go specifically have that kind of relationship with Krishna.
One question.
Huh?
It's very seldom, I mean, never really I would speak about heaven and hell, because, well, particularly hell, because the idea coming from, say, a Catholic background, if you do something wrong, you go to hell forever and ever and ever. And even if you do something wrong in the, you know, in Camden, you steal a car, you might get 6 months, or you might get 200 hours probation.
For example.
Slap in the wrist. So the punishment is to the crime, but the idea of a God who sends someone to hell to burn forever and ever and ever, it's like God's like a demonic person, psychopath,
Yeah.
who cause people suffering like that.
Cruel.
And also the concept of hell. For some people, because I used to be a social worker, and I remember some people suffered from morning to night. I was working with the gypsy community, and some people they suffered like non-stop, more or less, you know. And for them, that life would be like hell. And at the same time, you could have two people living in the same situation. One's quite content, and one's in great anxiety to accumulate more and more, and they're creating their own hell.
Mm-hmm.
So the people can be put off by the idea of because we're trying to give people the experience of the soul, which is all blissful and all, you know, happiness, and every walk is a dance, and every word is a song.
In the spiritual world.
Yeah. But we're trying to give the higher taste rather than trying to put the fear of God into people.
Well, that's exactly why I speak about this, because it's not God that's determining where we go. It's our own consciousness. And if we're...
I think you explained that very well. Actually, I was very, very interested to hear what you had to say about it. And the beginning of the discussion was that, you know, there's not a man up there saying you're going to hell and you're going to heaven. Much as there might be in the Christian or maybe the Catholicism. But yeah, I found it very, very interesting. But I have many questions still to answer. I could be here all night asking you questions. So I hope you come again and speak on the same subject, because there are a few questions I'd like to ask.
Go ahead.
No, I've said it. So somebody else can ask another question.
One, this one.
Yeah, just one. Yeah. Well, just like the one about the karma thing, like I said, you know, if you're born into an atheist family, and that family, I mean, then you just explained to me that's probably due to the karma that they had in the previous life, because they were like that. So they were born into like attracts like.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I just think it's really interesting. I really appreciate your talking today.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's not the point that God sends us to hell. Again, you know, you take a person, he's died. Even they have if they come and the angels come and say, come on, let's go to the light, you know, and praise the Lord. And the person's going to go, nah, I'm not really interested in that. Well, they're not. They want to go somewhere else. So, how do you call it? Now, you can call it hell. It's actually kind of a relative designation. Okay. in the example of the one book, I said that the people, some of the people in hell, they were living what might be considered an ordinary life on the earth, and they didn't know that they had died, and they were arguing, no, there's no life after death. One fellow was working all the time, and the man said, well, why are you working so much? I said, that's what I have to do. What do you mean, why do we work? We all have to work, right? That's his conception of life. You have to work all the time. And so that's what you get in the mental world. So you can call that hell, or you can call it something else. It's a relative designation.
Well, then what sorts of world do we live in like there's some people that can see angels and ghosts and demons and fairies. What about all that?
What's the question again?
Like, then what kind of dimension are we living in if people can see ghosts or they can see fairies or they can see angels or demons?
Well, some can.
Yeah.
And they say we all can if we develop the ability. You know, we could all have such ability to see the other dimensions if we train ourselves.
Isn't that what people do?
Isn't that what?
Do people have these experiences? Some people describe when they're on drugs, DMT or ayahuasca, whatever it is, and they see these different entities.
Yeah. Or these persons who channel. Swedenborg, he had the ability to go to the mental world. And went there many times, and he came back and reported what he saw.
But is his experience not totally subjective because it's a material consciousness? It's not like an absolute platform. Therefore, when we hear it and we listen to it and we believe it, then we get involved in that. Whereas we might not have been before. I'm just saying it's a material consciousness.
Is it subjective? Good point. The way this one book started was the person who was not good, not so good, not so bad. When he died, he felt bad because he thought I should have given more attention to religion than I did. So I want to do something to make up for that. So he took the effort from that side to contact somebody on this side to help them understand, hey, there's something more than this, physical world. And he was explaining his experience, and it's not that that's everybody's experience.
Yeah.
Okay. And so I think that's what you're getting at. So
yeah, I'm just saying it's not the truth that applies to everybody because we all have individual consciousnesses.
The experience on that side is as individual as our experience on this side.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's on a material level, but actually, if he's connected to Krishna, it's on a completely different level. Experience is on an absolute platform. So therefore, I'm just saying, if we remember Krishna, then we don't have to think about like other people's experiences.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
But his point is that
let me just reinforce that. The experience is as unique as our own lives are on this side. And so it's not, you can't generalize, but there's similarities, okay? We may all have the opportunity to examine our life in a review. How that's going to go, how many times we see that, when we see that, these are all individual things. If we're stuck to the material plane, maybe, maybe not. When do we let go of the ethereal body? Can be immediately, can be later. So there's many, it's not the same all across the board for everybody. It's by all means very, very unique. This is what you're saying, yeah?
basically, yeah, I'm saying like we don't like if you can examine your life every day if you're reading Bhagavad Gita. That's what I'm saying. We don't have to wait for the time of death to have a rerun of the whole thing. You can see it. Krishna reveals it to you.
We can definitely do that.
Yeah.
In this life.
So how come animals can't choose to go into a different mental plane?
So the body is a filter of consciousness. And the animal bodies, they don't allow full consciousness. The human body does. Human body, the consciousness, we have full reasoning ability, free will. Animals don't have free will.
So what's their purpose of existence then?
Yeah.
What's their what?
What, enjoy us killing them?
That's what we're doing. The purpose, I didn't realise they were going to come down for that. But the animal kingdom's there for enjoyment until you come to this body.
That's not the purpose of the animal kingdom.
Oh. Well, sometimes I watch. Sometimes, for example.
I'm trying to remember this by the time I get home.
Heaven and hell. This heaven that we're talking about, this is the planets of the demigods. It's different, right? It's also described as heavenly planets.
I don't claim to be an expert on all of this, by any stretch. I'm just trying to give a general idea.
There are people who claim to have the natural ability to communicate with the dead. Is this, in many Christian circles, it's frowned upon? Is this allowed in, amongst Christian devotees? Are you allowed to communicate with the dead via someone, through a medium, a psychic medium, for instance?
We don't have any particular principles against that.
Also, I found out from the Bible that the word soul in the Old Testament, in the Hebrew scriptures, nefesh, is also used for animals, humans and animals. Interesting.
Interesting. What's the, is there
nefesh, that's the Hebrew word, soul, also used for animals as well as human beings.
I have a question about how, you know, the Christians in Christian. Because, you know, I think the question of responsibility or accountability, because I was recently watching on YouTube some little thing about prisoners talking honestly about the crimes that they've committed, and the same sort of themes kept being repeated, that you have young people who had kind of entered a criminal subculture where criminality was sort of normal, and the crimes were committed in kind of like the person's worst moments, you know, when they were somehow, you know, a loss of control, or somehow they all move through different mental states throughout the day. Sometimes we can concentrate, and sometimes we're kind of more susceptible to making bad decisions. And the people's bad decisions were kind of at the lowest, you know, the lowest moment of their lives. And there were some sort of young guys who'd fallen into subcultures in America where they started to carry guns, and then one thing led to another, somebody provoked them, and then they had killed someone, and they bitterly regretted it afterwards, you know. And I think, you know, it's difficult, the problem of culpability, because they were just, in a way, just completely mindless in that moment.
Yeah, are you familiar with the concept of the gunas? Have you read Bhagavad Gita? No. Bhagavad Gita explains that the material energy influences the consciousness in different ways. So, for example, if we drink alcohol, we know we get drunk. But beyond that, it's the effect of what's called tamagun. As that effect becomes more and more prominent, what one thinks is right is actually wrong, and what they think is wrong is actually right. They become their own worst enemy. So these subcultures, like you're describing, criminal gangs and so on, they're very heavily influenced by tamagun, to the point where they're their own worst enemy. They're doing the wrong thing. And what's required is punishing them doesn't really help. They have to raise up their consciousness. One example that I use for that is some people are feeling that, oh, the poor people in the prisons in America, because they're there because they didn't get an even break in life, you know, they had bad parents or something. So they started a program to educate them, to train them in computer skills so that when they got out of prison, they could be normal citizens, have a job, make money, and have a decent life. Well, what happened was, with these prisoners, they got out of jail and they started doing computer crime.
It's in there. Great. Oh, I shouldn't be saying great. It's kind of cool.
Because they have a criminal mentality, right? So the mentality, they have education, but the mentality is the same. The consciousness is the same. So it's a matter of raising up the consciousness. So there's the evolution of the living being. One has to rise up, or actually it's called samsara. Samsara means wheel. So at some point on the wheel, sometimes it's up, sometimes it's down. And life in the material world is like that. Sometimes you're down, and then you go up, and then you go down. And it just repeats like that, almost unlimitedly, until one comes in contact with a spiritual teacher who can explain to them how to get out of it, how to break that chain of karma.
I'm selling fish over here. You're in trouble.
Do you think that these people are fully responsible when they're kind of like high on the group energy and perhaps high on drugs? Would you say they're fully responsible?
You're responsible?
Or would you kind of, in a way, cut them slack?
It's not a matter of judgment like that. It's a matter of how are they associating with the material energy. By that kind of association, it has an effect on their consciousness, which is degrading. It's not a moral judgment. It's a factual judgment. The result of that activity it covers up the understanding of the person. If you want to understand this more, you study Bhagavad Gita and how they explain the gunas, and you get a better understanding of that.
Thank you very much. As soon as you have the other one, I thought you lived here or something.
Kind of live here. I wish I lived
Did
here.
you look at the thing?
No, I didn't live here.
I just put some perspective for you.
You want to put the food on?
Come closer to our ear.
I can hear something right now.
Also like little lanterns, and there's these curtains that are
Start over. Even though I'm not even
some people buy it. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
It's ruining my floor, guys.
So the body's
We see you anytime.
I only see you online, but I don't get to see you. Will you be with us? Oh, I love it.
I have got psychic skills now.
done everything.
Oh God, I have
And then they become
it's all right now.
you won't come back or something else.
But it doesn't say as we have to understand that I don't make a cycle. I don't know if you are aware that, just in English, there are at least 300 versions of the case. And there's a lot of the basic ideas. So that's why he comes from. And that's why he calls it was talking about the intention. And his intention is only to serve Krishna. And God's main desire is for us to do that. So he gives the knowledge of pure, he doesn't speculate about it. Prabhupada actually said that for my purpose, the expectations, all of them my understanding of that is that, some of the Krishna is actually dictating to him, he's a pure vessel. So that's why it's important to read the pure thing. Because I meet some people who have read different versions of the Gita, and I remember at one of these festivals, I met some other people who were from some different areas, some spiritual paths, and I opened their Gita, and it's very mushy. It was very mushy. Because it wasn't Prabhupada's Gita. So,